bring mainstream in to the new world, the new frontier of blockchain, all things blockchain. How are you, Paul? Megan, you're both well?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, very well. Really appreciate you joining and being a special guest today.
Hi, I'm also good. How are you guys doing?
Good, Megan, good. And you bet yourself?
Oh, just doing our security token market things today.
Nice.
Excited for this. I think there's a lot of things to talk about in this space, both controversial and non-controversial, I guess.
There's always controversial. Things popping up every day, right?
I was just reading an article, or not an article. I was reading on Twitter just how one of the recent tokenization projects was resonating.
Mm-hmm. There's some really exciting things out there. We'll just wait a few minutes to let people join. Sort of a general chit chat before we get stuck into the formalities and get you to introduce yourselves and so forth. But it's just sort of a general chit chat, allow people to join in. Probably just people that they are joining in. I've got a certain points for today's topic to get through, so I'd really like to ask some of these questions that for both Paul and Megan to share their wisdom, their experiences, and given their training in marketing, their background. So we're really fortunate that I have you both on. But I do want to get through some of the points I got here to engage in some of the wisdom from both of you. And I will open up the floor later on for other people to be able to ask questions. But I do want to get through the content that I've got here. And anything interesting in the past week, Megan, from your perspective they'd like to share?
I've been looking a lot at is it Roofstock? I think they tokenized a property, they didn't tokenize it, but they issued it just seemed like they put it as an NFT and now it's on OpenSea and it's the special purpose vehicle is an LLC. So I don't know. I've been diving into that a little bit. I don't know if you've seen that project.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't go into detail. I didn't read it in detail, but I saw it pop up. Yeah.
I've been looking at that. I just don't know if it's the best way to go about this or the legal way, but that's something interesting I've seen out of the space this week.
I think everybody can, obviously, you've got different people trying to innovate in different ways, I guess. We're all so early, and I guess that there is boundaries, but maybe
I guess it's a good thing. It's almost unavoidable to have these opportunities where companies are trying new ways to do things, but we'll see what ends up being the long-term play versus the short term and what they find out to be not necessarily either within regulation, etc.
Well, no doubt we'll find out some more on your show, right, in the next few weeks.
Yeah. We'll always do our best to report what we can. So we've been doing a lot of research around that.
Nice. And you, Paul? Anything interesting over the last week?
Certainly from a more of a macro point of view, I'm keeping an eye on what the Fed's doing because the court case with the library tokens due to be out soon. Speculation is that the outcome will be in favour of library, hopefully, which will have a direct positive impact on other coins, especially with the XRP, which has been rallying a bit at the moment, and certainly good for the Ripple case. Situation in Ukraine's obviously getting tougher. The Fed is come to the end of the year when they typically start going after a lot of cases just to prove their point that they should have a rise from the central government to do more things. So quite a bit, certainly from the Gary Gensler side and what he's up to.
Any more backflipping from your Prime Minister over there in England? I know there's been a few backflips of late. Any sort of interesting other backflips that we should know about? Apart from taxes?
Flipping heck. I genuinely do not understand how they recruited a Chancellor Exchequer who doesn't actually know what the flipping heck he's doing. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I guess it's just favouritism and all the rest of it, because he obviously hadn't got a clue what he was doing.
I just find it astonishing, without sort of getting too political, I just find it astonishing that normally the Prime Minister and the Treasurer here in Australia, Prime Minister's got a fairly good grasp as to what policy has been put and what changes have been put within the Treasury. And the Prime Minister always overrules the Treasurer here. So to find in terms of what happened over there in England was quite astonishing from my perspective anyway. But yeah, obviously it's a slightly different system from the powers to be within the cabinet. But I was just quite interesting.
I mean, at the moment, our Prime Minister is technically unelected, hasn't been elected, and I think somewhat, in my opinion, this is just they're hoofing it a bit, definitely making mistakes there and what have you. So it'll be interesting. I mean, even BlackRock at one stage were threatening not to trade in the UK pound because the Chancellor Exchequer was just, what he was doing was just so crazy. Right. So I just hope things start to settle down a bit more. At one stage, I think our UK pound was almost level pegging with the US dollar, which I've never seen in my life. So that's how bad things are getting over here at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting times, that's for sure. Jake's my co-host, has joined me. How are you, Jake? You good?
Hi, Louise. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here today. Hi, Paul. Hi, Megan. How you guys doing?
Hey, Jake. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
We just
real busy today.
Just
glad
general.
I'm able to be on. I'll be in the car at some point during this call.
That's okay, mate. We haven't started the formality. Just sort of general chit chat, sort of allowing people to join in the conversation. So we haven't actually started the formalities yet. But yeah, look, anything interesting from your perspective over the past week, Jake?
Well, I've had a lot of meetings for renewal blocks. Actually just had a meeting regarding a simulation for the solar site and you know, how we're going to be pulling solar and how it's going to be allocated to the grid and how it's going to be allocated to the miners and all this crazy stuff. So we're moving forward with that stuff slowly but surely. Also got some really good legal documents back regarding our offering for Reg D and Reg S. So we will, be using those very soon.
Fantastic. All moving forward by the sounds of it. That's great. Probably just say hello to Morgan and Alexis, who've also joined us. I hope you're feeling much better, Morgan. I know you haven't been well with COVID and been in hospital, and I hope you're feeling much better. And I really appreciate you joining us live. The space is being recorded. We do put the space out on YouTube as well as Spotify out there. So if people don't have a chance to come on live and join us live, so it is being recorded. But yeah, in terms of interesting times, and I thought in terms, obviously, we started with the song "Help," and that was very much around the theme. Again, obviously, we all as a collective here, we're all trying to bring people in mainstream to make them aware of what the opportunities are in the new frontier of blockchain. Obviously, with particular focus in terms of what this session we have every week, focusing on tokenized real estate. So again, it's just a matter of making people aware, because even people who are actually involved in blockchain, and you actually tell them about tokenized real estate, that's still a bit foreign to them in terms of the understanding that you can actually have a token in a property or fraction of a property. So I know I experienced that at the Australian Crypto Convention around 3 weeks ago that I went to. It was our first one in Australia. So these are people who actually have dabbled in at some different extents into blockchain related projects, and just the thing around tokenized real estate was still a bit foreign when I mentioned to a few of them. So again, just shows you how early. But again, today's session is very much around focusing in terms of marketing to mainstream. And look, we're just getting close to 10 past. A few more people have joined us. Lord Irwin, thank you for joining us. Atoba, I hope I said that correctly. Apologise if I haven't. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, look, we'll make a start. Start with the formalities without being too formal. But probably with the introductions first. So again, I'm Luis Miguel Alexo. I'm the Managing Director and Co-Founder of Rick Projects. We tokenize real estate here in Australia. we've about to launch our second property. The second is going to be on the Ravencoin blockchain. That happens next week, so that's going to be going live. It's a Gold Coast property based at Mermaid Beach, Miami, on the Gold Coast. So we're quite excited about that launch next week. A bit of an intro from you, Jake.
Hi, my name is Jake Bernard. I am CFO of RenewableBlocks. We are a renewable energy company that will be mining Bitcoin in Costa Rica, and we are tokenizing the company on the Ravencoin blockchain. I am also project manager for Dwell Homes. We are a custom home builder in Illinois, which is in the Midwest U.S. We are looking to tokenize a rental community in Illinois and tokenize the profits of the rental community to the world.
Fantastic. Well, that's today. Today is all about marketing to mainstream, and we are very honoured to have two amazing people who very much their training has been around marketing, and also their experiences and what they're involved day to day is all about marketing, specifically around digital marketing. So we'll have ladies first go. Megan, would you like to give you an introduction? And so Megan is head of marketing and STM, which she'll tell us a bit more about it. Host of Spilling the NFT, which is a YouTube channel that she co-hosts every week with Jessica, which is a fantastic show. I think got the new season coming up soon, which you'll fill us in. Sometimes referred to as Sally, and also the Aussie name she's got, Token Dolphin. So Megan, do you want to just sort of give us a bit of a background, a bit of an intro about yourself?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. So I am, as you mentioned, head of media and marketing at Security Token Market. We work in the tokenized asset space, putting real world assets on the blockchain. So, so much more than just real estate, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, that you can realistically put any asset on the blockchain as a, fractionalized or wholly. So that is what I do. My background itself is in marketing, studied it my whole life. So I'm really passionate about it, and I'm excited to, implement it in this emerging space. And we are really focusing on real estate actually at Security Token Market, solely because I believe it makes up about 83% of the tokenized assets market right now. And I think it's just going to really impact the space and be one of the first to market applications that sticks and resonates with people mainstream. So that's why we're really aping in on this industry. And we just released a tokenized real estate course from our advisory team where, you can, it's very entry level. We're just really excited about this space in general. So I'm glad you guys all are probably familiar with it as well.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned the course, because I was actually on the messages with Jessica actually, and we're gonna have 2 weeks time. We're gonna have the guys on talking about the course and around the topic of education of tokenized real estate. So I'm glad you mentioned that actually. Yeah. Oh,
amazing! I didn't know you guys were collaborating on that. Perfect. Yeah, they definitely are. They are focused more on that than I am, but yes. Regardless, I've been supporting.
It was literally a message 2 hours ago.
Oh my gosh.
I was planning it out. I was funny because I was actually planning it out anyway. It was just going to suit more the timing that suited the guys over there, you guys over there, to who was going to be the person to drive it to come on the show. So yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you for the intro, and I hope you don't mind given the nicknames you've been given, Token Dolphin and Sally.
Oh no, yeah. I'm Sally from marketing, who supports Jess, the CEO.
Of course.
Ever since we've been running things, it's been, I'm just kidding. But yeah, of course, at Token Dolphin. We always talk about that in the office, actually. I know those are funny. We've got, Herwig, somebody's a kangaroo or something.
Yeah, Token Drew for Herwig. Token Kookaburra for Kyle. And I think Jess has got she's a token koala. So most of you have got one. I just feel sorry for the ones that haven't got one. I have a promise the year 2 ones, they'll be getting their names from the year 2 ones, the ones that haven't got yet. So we'll get them some. But thank you for the intro, Megan. Paul, in terms of yourself, again, you've been around a long time in marketing, and you're a senior lecturer at the Staffordshire University. And head of marketing at Renewal Blocks, heavily involved with the Ravencoin community. You consult to other blockchain projects. But from your words, do you want to sort of give us a background for yourself?
Yeah, as you said, senior lecturer, researcher, and consultant in digital marketing. I've been involved in digital marketing pretty much from the beginning, when things like AOL was a big name in the field. Prior to certainly working at Staffs Uni, I was an internal and external consultant, including associate for large consultancies here in the UK, around Europe, Malaysia, Texas, and a few other Grand Canyon, and a few other places. I got into crypto originally through a couple of non-disclosure agreements with mining organisations, some of which are very well known, one especially on YouTube in Texas, and basically started to develop from there. So I got involved supporting mining organisations and people, then expanded into NFTs, where certainly I worked with people in the Ravencoin community, and as you said before, I work in marketing for Renewal Blocks as well.
Fantastic. Well, we always put people on the spot, our guests on the spot, because we're collating the people's definition. What is real estate tokenization? So briefly, Paul, while I got you on, what's your definition of tokenized real estate?
The way I explain this is, you've got to imagine that you have these tokens almost like NFTs, and each of these has directly embedded into them what is an asset, or like a stock or a share. So it's actually physically burnt into that, and therefore each of these particular tokens has a value. And I just keep it as simple as that. Obviously, as part of with this to do with real estate, this real estate is tokenized simply by fractionalizing it into smaller blocks, and each of these is worth a particular asset, which is then put within the token.
Fantastic, thank you. And Megan, what's your definition? What is real estate tokenization?
So to keep it very, very simple, I mean, are you asking this just kind of if you were to intro somebody to it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I presume that I would explain it best as owning a piece of a pie. And that's how I explain tokenization in general, only because it's really the only way people can grasp it. I feel like tying it to even NFTs is a little bit confusing, but it's really just owning a piece of a real world asset. And that's the main point of differentiation I always point out between tokenization and crypto, because I've had a lot of people tell me, the fact that it's a real world asset makes a lot more sense than, say, what people call a crypto token or whatever names are thrown around.
Fantastic. That's great, because all these definitions that we're collating every week, we're going to create an NFT to actually spell out everybody's definition of it. So come the end of the year, we're going to be minting that. So thank you for your contribution towards the definition. That's fantastic. Well, in terms of the topic, as I said, in terms of bringing marketing to mainstream, I guess one of the first points, probably to you first, Megan. Again, I always describe, obviously, when we're developing marketing strategies and putting a plan out around it, we will always talk about in terms of where are people living, in terms of where's your avatars living. And I guess from mainstream, from your perspective, Megan, where do you see, in terms of obviously marketing to mainstream, where do you see people, where are they living in terms of the social media platforms? Where are they living these days? Obviously got different demographics and different age groups and so forth, but sort of in general, from your point of view, where are those people living? In terms of, is it Facebook, is it Twitter, in terms of those platforms?
It's definitely Twitter, a mix of Discord and obviously Telegram, WhatsApp groups, but I would say Twitter is just so impactful in this space, especially for marketing. And I think it's mainly because Twitter is essentially developing a community. So when people bring these projects to market, they don't put an emphasis on having their own community before they go to market, which is where the strategy really is difficult to grasp. Because not only are these tokenized projects so new, that is its own battle because it's hard to build trust when you don't have a community to begin with, and it's a new product. So you're facing multiple battles when you go to market strategy, whatever real estate project it is. And I think that real estate projects resonate the best among tokenization from a marketing perspective, just because real estate historically, obviously, it's one of the best performing assets. But anyways, my take is that these communities are being built out on Twitter along with other platforms, but it's really a community driven marketing strategy almost always.
They do find in terms of Twitter sort of the main one, and they also dabble into some of the Discord and some of Instagram and so forth. But Twitter, you think your view is sort of where the main driver happens from a marketing perspective?
Oh, for sure. And I don't want to I'm not trying to shill security token market, but there's just not a lot of platforms that are built out that really have that specialized tokenization audience. So building out your own is so important. And I feel like a lot of people are doing that very well. And even this past week when we saw Roofstock go to market with their strategy, I'm almost happy that it wasn't really well received by these different communities who are building tokenization projects. I'm glad it wasn't well received because it shows that there is genuine communities out there and they are being vocal with, what's being built out, and they're passionate and it's authentic. So
did you find also with Twitter, it's a bit more open? Obviously Discord's going to be very closed environments, and people obviously that, if you don't know where to find it, just what you don't know, right? So
right.
Twitter, in terms of building those communities, seems to be more open and more visible, I guess, in terms to anybody, anywhere in the world, right? And coming in.
Yeah, I just think Twitter, the barriers to entry are so low. With Discord, you have to have a link, you have to join, you have to typically be accepted, do the, whatever entry to the group and all of the things. And I just hate the Discord UX, UI. But, so Twitter, I just think it's like a free flow of ideas, which is why it's working so well, because you can target those communities that are familiar with crypto, for example, and make them familiar with other projects without having to have those barriers to entry just to learn or hear a very brief bit about tokenization. So I feel like this is just the place to have the mix of ideas. You can hop in a Twitter space. You can see what other people, sometimes it gets picked up by the quote industry leaders, such as, we had the co-founder of Ava Labs the other day tweeting about tokenized real estate. It's just an easier way to become exposed to multiple ideas, in my opinion, from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. No, thank you for that. And Paul, from your perspective, in terms of where are people living, from your perspective, in terms of social media platforms?
Right, I'd actually approach this a different way, and I'd start with who are the key target audiences for example, the stock option. And I'd start with looking at corporates. Where do they look? What's their triggers? What are their hooks? What are their fears? Because they're very risk averse. What do they want? How do you get in and see them, and so on? And then I'd go to retail, which is basically you and me and small groups, what have you. As Megan pointed out, community is a brilliant way of starting there. But also look outside that. There are a whole load of tools. For example, we use SEMrush, Nuba Suggest, to find out where out in the social media world people are looking, what hashtags they're using, and then try and hook into those as well. So it could be like a chief exec of a company who really likes Bitcoin, wants to get into Bitcoin, but then wants to start to expand beyond that. Where are they looking? What platforms are they using? What kind of content to get out there to hook their attention and get rid of their fears? We can actually even take it down to the right time of day. So we actually talk about using the right content on the right platform, the right time of day, to then start to target these people. And we've got the tools there to do that. And then what we start to do then, certainly with people, the communities, is something called, which Michael Stelzner from Social Media Examiner called Know, Like and Trust. Like yourselves, you're out there all the time. You were out there even when I was working at 9 o'clock at night. You were busy chatting to people and stuff like that. You are developing a really strong know, like and trust. People know you, they know your first name, they know your background, they know the story about you, start to trust you and they're buying into you. So we actually then start to develop the know, like and trust across these various platforms and get them to talk to each other.
That's fantastic. And I guess in terms of, I know you and I have had this discussion about where Facebook plays in terms of in this current environment we're in there, and obviously given the ever controlling aspects of Facebook. And I know I've made a point that from a Brick BC perspective, we decided not to set up a Facebook page only because we didn't like that control. What's your views in terms of Facebook playing part in going forward in terms of bringing mainstream in terms of tokenized real estate, or just basically tokenized assets in general?
Okay, because I come very much from a business point of view, and I talk about corporate organisations, I will deliberately market to them. Now, I recognise there's some of my colleagues in here thinking, "Oh, I want nothing to do with corporates, what have you," but they are a key market. And the people there are people, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are of the older generation, and therefore they are on Facebook. And again, we can use the analytics behind Google. We can actually use paid ads, actually. Facebook advertising is a complete nightmare at the moment, and the number on Facebook has pretty much flattened out, but it's still got, I can't remember how many billion active users in there, but a lot of active users of the right age group. And so that's worthwhile going into. Setting up a group to start off with, no, I wouldn't do that. What I would do is find out where are these people, what groups are they in, get in there, start answering those questions, develop yourself as like the expert in those areas so that they start to ask you questions, and then start to think about developing your own group. I wouldn't set up a group or a page to start off with. I'd start having a chat with other people and raising your profile in the groups that they already are in.
That's great. Before you made some great points in terms of you got to know your target audience. So you have to know what you always call what is the avatar that you're focusing on. Is it corporate, retail, and going down to the specifics of your avatar. So that's really important. You've made some good points around that. I guess in terms of one of the things that's becoming more important, and I sort of touched on briefly, is around in terms of controlling the centralization and non-centralization of these social media platforms. And I think we've all seen experiences already in, where people have been banned. You've got businesses that have been banned because they've said something, and I've numerous people that I've come across in terms of their businesses, people in blockchain projects that basically they've been banned because certain things were said, and only just one yesterday. Actually, one was banned from Twitter yesterday. That I was having this conversation with somebody. So Megan, in terms of from your perspective, given that obviously we're moving to a new world where there's going to be more platforms coming along that's going to be more decentralized in the way they deal with things. I know obviously Elon Musk, obviously once the purchase goes through, that's obviously his objective to make Twitter more decentralized. But what's your views and what are you seeing from a marketing perspective in terms of people's attitudes towards Web 2 and obviously moving to some Web 3 environments around centralized and non-centralized platforms?
Yeah, so it's hard to say, but my general gauge of everything going on right now is each platform is receptive in their own ways. And I will say this, it's very general. Don't take this totally literally because it's obviously going to differ for everybody. But in my opinion, Twitter has been the most receptive. Instagram, I don't know why, but I haven't been able to build a super, super strong community on there. We do have one and it's very targeted. And obviously the people that are following us on Instagram are a great crowd, but it's just been really difficult to build a larger community there. And Facebook for us has been really, really, really hard. I I actually don't even really focus on it anymore. I don't know if it's the age or I don't know. We've tried it all. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I think that people are in this environment where, the things are being thrown around, Elon's buying Twitter, all of this stuff. I think people are very receptive to Web3 and the marketing efforts behind it. I think people are excited about the potential to have, less regulation and less of a middleman and just be able to reach their, I guess, targeted audiences more and in their most authentic manner. I've studied a lot with algorithms, and even though we don't see it, our feeds are so targeted towards us, it's not even funny. So I think we do consume a lot of content that we aren't even realizing is literally, being purposely shown to us. So it would be interesting to see how it evolves, moving from heavy algorithms, which I'm sure will still be a factor, but moving to a more open platform where marketing might even be disrupted totally.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of noise already, and I've seen a couple of platforms that have been coming on where it's putting these social media platforms more the power back to the people rather than being controlling. And I've seen Somi was another one. It was like the Facebook, but in a reverse way where people control their content, people get rewarded for their content. So there's one I came across called Somi, which I'm sort of looking into just see what they're all about. But and I guess from a music perspective, you've got Audios, which is a music project that it's like iTunes, but gives the power back to the musicians to earn their money, and basically they generate the revenue. And I think Audios, they actually hooked up with TikTok actually last year. So again, you got these platforms that continue to coming up in Web3 that puts the power back to people. So it'll be interesting how that sort of develops. But I think there's obviously noise. I know, given that some of the restrictions that some of the platforms put on people. I know YouTube, that so many cases where people created platforms and they've developed massive audience and they can be switched off. I just find that quite astonished that in this day and age that can happen. But Paul, from your perspective, in terms of that centralized, decentralized discussion, what are your thoughts in terms of where some of these, the social media platforms, in terms of where they're heading and whether there's noise from everybody, the public, to put pressure on these social media platforms to be more decentralized? What are your thoughts around that?
I'm a massive supporter of decentralization. I support the Odyssey. You see, like even, for example, Son of a Tech, he's on Odyssey as well as YouTube. And I think people should push to, as you said, as we said before, I support the library coin. People should push to go for the decentralized areas. My concern really with the metaverse is Crypto Slate in a report, I think it was today or yesterday, pointed out that investors are losing interest in the metaverse related tokens, simply because it's not gaining the profile strong enough to capture people's attention at this point in time. I think possibly it's because the time is wrong right now and we're expecting more issues. And we're not really expecting things to pick up possibly for up to 2 years. So it could be just the general timing. But certainly, if you want to market at this point in time, I would really like everybody to support the decentralized systems like Odyssey, like LibraryCoin, or have you. But if you want to make an impact, unfortunately, at this point in time, the social media out there is centralized systems. And as Megan's pointed out, Instagram isn't easy. We're finding that Instagram stories might work at a small community level, but the only way we're going to get Instagram to work really to an external community is to use Reels. And in the end, even YouTube is probably, for some audiences, stronger evergreen content compared to Instagram Reels.
Yeah, I mean, with YouTube, I know I'm a heavy user of YouTube, and I think I've shared that, Megan. I've shared that story with you, Megan, and the STM team. And when I started doing my research 3 years ago in terms of what was tokenized assets, that's one of the major platforms I started doing my research with. Obviously with the SDM show that's done weekly. That's where I got quite a lot of content to understand the space. So again, YouTube does continue to be a major educational platform, but still very obviously centralized. That you say the wrong thing, and it can certainly undo you. Megan, from your perspective, from an SDM perspective, your YouTube channel, has there been many issues over the years in terms of with YouTube, in terms of being turned off? But obviously, you guys keep complying with saying all the right things. I'm sure there's been no issues there. Yeah.
YouTube's it's been great, and I think that a lot of people are resorting to YouTube just for general learning these days, which it's so valuable for. So YouTube for us has been really great, huge asset for the communities that use it. It's a little bit harder to growth hack in my opinion, but also just a lot of companies are realizing that they need to use YouTube as an outlet to educate. And it's nice because if you do create YouTube content, especially and specifically in the tokenization space, you can use it on other platforms. So it's like a nice way to develop thought leadership and become, a thought leader in your industry. And then you can use the videos across all of the platforms that you desire. But the other issue with YouTube is they're trying to copy other platforms, and it's like now they want you to do YouTube shorts to get traction on your site, and it's really difficult because it's like, why are we straying away from what distinguishes you from TikTok or Instagram, which are these like short format scroll, no algorithm type videos, and so they're like forcing people to comply with posting that to get traction, which is annoying in my eyes, but it is what it is. That's the name of the game in social media marketing. But YouTube in general, I just feel like is the place to place that content that's like a little bit heavier, less palatable, but makes you think. That's why we have our show on there weekly, and that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree with it. In terms of, it's very complementary to the other platforms. We did the same. We shared, obviously we shared this Twitter space. Obviously we shared back into YouTube, and it actually it's handy when it's was obviously Twitter only allows you to do so much length in a video format. So if I do something, and especially my brick walks that I do, I tend to obviously put them on YouTube and then get the link back from there. So
right, I've seen those. Those are great.
Well, they're a bit longer than I think what Twitter allows you. A minute and a half, I think it is in terms of video. So that sort of comes in handy, the YouTube. But that's great. Just moving on to the next my next point here. In terms of transitioning mainstream. What do you guys see, probably you, Megan, first, probably in terms of transitioning mainstream and getting to understand what tokenized assets is all about? What are you seeing the major problem trying to make people aware they've never been exposed to blockchain? They don't know a blockchain. They don't know. They've probably heard of Bitcoin. That's probably as far as that they've heard of anything related to blockchain. Well, what do you think are the major issues in terms of transitioning people to expose them to what's happening on blockchain opportunities?
I'll go first and pass it off to Paul because mine's very simple. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's crypto. That's mine. That's it.
It's so true, isn't it? So true. or even more precise, Bitcoin, because every time I have a conversation, Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
Right. Oh, I work in the tokenization of assets, and they're like, oh, Bitcoin, crypto, Ethereum, and I'm like, well, I love that you're familiar, but no.
Yeah, and you, Paul?
I would agree. It's certainly the people I talk to, they know what Bitcoin is, and they're starting to gather around blockchain. One of the biggest barriers that we need to put in place is education. They're just to try and sort out that this is an asset-based tokenization. It's not just like an NFT, which may not have it may not, it's not a monkey with variable value, which even those are going down in price at the moment. What else? it's raising the awareness. We are right at the beginning of the curve. So we're hitting the people who are slightly less risk averse. We're hitting people who are prepared to go in and learn things, take the risk, research it, or spend time to research it, rather than somebody who's just comfortable with what we call golden handcuffs. Those who've got the 9-to-5 job and they're quite happy with that, full stop. And it's about trying to slowly educate and get across. And at the moment, we need to do that a lot stronger.
I agree. I think COVID, as much as a negative as COVID was, I think COVID brought people obviously were at home, and obviously some weren't able to work, some made redundant. I think it allowed people that time to be go and look for education around all things blockchain, and I think that COVID fast tracked things from our industry perspective, and I guess as people sort of move to the next phase. Obviously, the global global economy is going to be going through some hard times over the next couple of years, and I think it'll be another phase where people will be looking for alternative ways to generate income, and I think or generate earnings, and I think it's going to be another phase where I'm hoping that will sort of take us to another level over the next couple of years. And but I think sometimes out of bad situations, I think it's created a positive from our blockchain industry perspective in terms of getting more people from mainstream. So, but yeah, I think I totally agree with this. I think that education awareness is such a critical part, and I think we're all collectively doing our part, and hence why we're doing this today. Yeah, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just dive in a sec before, but also look at the low-hanging fruit of people who are likely to catch on with this right at the beginning of the curve type of people. So we're talking about entrepreneurs and even intrapreneurs who are really into this kind of thing, or we can educate into this kind of thing. I think that should be our next step. So on to Jake.
I agree. Jake?
So I'm going to just stick with the current theme here on, blockchain education and, how people kind of understand tokenization and how they view it in the first place. So we've had a lot of meetings with the team at Bitcoin Racing. And the guys who are putting that together, they're doing a great job. They're doing a great thing. They just won second place at Silverstone earlier this week, I think. It was really cool. Anyways, so we've had a few meetings with them initially to talk about what we're doing on the tokenization side of RenewalBlocks, because we're kind of partnering with them and we're working with them. And one of the things that they didn't get at first, which they didn't even know that they didn't understand it. They thought that people would be receiving distributions in Ravencoin rather than distributions in Bitcoin when owning part of the company. So once it kind of clicked in their heads that we are strictly using the restricted assets on Ravencoin just for as a ledger of company ownership to distribute the Bitcoin, a light bulb went off in their head. They were like, oh my gosh, it took us so long to kind of understand that no one's getting Raven, they're still getting Bitcoin, but these assets on Raven are helping represent your ownership of the company. And we were like, yes. So it took them a while. So you just got to keep pushing that stuff with people. And then the light bulb flips. And these guys, they were pretty much total Bitcoin maxis. Not that it's a bad thing, but before they started talking to us, and now they're totally on the tokenization side. They see the potential. And another good way of putting it with other people outside of them is that tokenization is allowing us to get renewable Bitcoin mining into more people's hands and get Bitcoin into more people's hands, not just, oh, you're just investing in this token, this random token, right? It's not a crypto token. This is an asset. It is equity in a company. There's assets backing it. There's profitable assets, giving cash flow towards these assets. So that's kind of my experience the last few months in regards to teaching the really smart people exactly what tokenization is. There's definitely a step that you have to take to really get it on a deep level, and they took it, and it made us really happy because now they're totally advocating for it.
That's fantastic. Now they're big advocates of it. Obviously, they're talking to their friends and contacts and family That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's huge. They talk about it to everyone now. They're always telling us, hey, we just talked to someone else today about RenewableX, and they're like in El Salvador talking about RenewableX. A few weeks ago when we were in Costa Rica, they were in El Salvador. So yeah, lots of good things happen when you just try to talk to people and teach people. Like education, right? Education is so important, like Megan was saying.
It's critical. It's critical. I mean, and again, it's one of those things that when you start doing it, you got to be consistent. You got to stay committed for the long term. You're not going to get the results straight away in the first month, second month. I think one of the key things is people got to be consistent about it, because I see some shows that they start and then they basically do for a week, then they do it ad hoc. I think the thing is, if you're serious about contributing, you got to be consistent in terms of every week, same time, same place. And again, that whether it's on digital or whether it's in real life, it's I think consistent is such a critical part, because people then expect that routine, and that's how they sort of keep learning along the way. And but yeah, that education is such a critical part in terms of what we're all doing and bringing mainstream in. I'll go to you, Ming, on this one to start this next point. If you were to look back and in terms of some of the successful marketing strategies that you adopted over the years, can you share with one of them that stands out in your mind that in terms of the objectives around it?
Sure. One just came to mind, and I believe it's being authentic. I just think that's such an underrated strategy, and you can apply it on any platform. We've really implemented that at Security Token Market. We've shown our faces. We're making the brand so much more than just a company. And I think that really resonates in other brands that have done the same. It's becoming more of a demand these days. It also builds a lot of trust when you know the people behind the project. And no matter what it is, this is, I feel, very applicable to any industry, is just being authentic and not, I just, obviously there are boundaries that need to be set, but I just feel like people, now that social media is so accessible and people are building their own personal brands, it all has worked together to just democratize, access to how we look at companies these days and what they're building and how we are communicating with them. So that's my takeaway.
And these guys do it really well, because again, you get to see the different, even like the stuff these guys share within the office and the characters, the stories behind the characters. You can see the authenticity behind each person. And like, for example, Jonah, you get to understand Jonah's character, and which obviously he's a token platypus. He got the name of token platypus. And just the different characters that you see within your office at STM. So again, you've done it really well, Megan.
Even beyond just showing our faces and stuff, obviously important, but just how you're writing copy and the photos you're posting. Like, companies these days are posting photos of their actual employees. They're not like these stock images and that kind of a thing. And I think it's difficult for people to totally either develop a marketing strategy right off the bat that implements these tactics, or even determining, to what degree they should use them. But that's at least my take, is in how you're writing and communicating. And I feel like things have just gotten a little more casual as well. We're not so much uptight corporate anymore, and I'm speaking very liberally in the sense of I'm in Miami and it's a lot of startup culture. So take it with a grain of salt. And I don't mean liberally in a political sense, more of, just in general, people who are, it's just a fresh kind of look on things. So anyways, that's how we're kind of looking at it. And yeah, I'm curious to see what Paul has to say as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think COVID's played a bit part in that. Obviously, people working from home brought more of a casual, and I think it's sort of become sort of the new norm, that still presentable but more casual. And I think globally, that's had that impact from that perspective. But yeah, Paul.
Totally. No, COVID, I feel like has played a huge role in this as well.
Yeah.
Almost like even expediting how adoption has rapidly expanded with that concept.
To the point that did you know I haven't worn a tie for 10 years. Only because I just went away from wearing ties. I just want to be more casual, and because been an accountant for a number of years, and obviously always had the standard tie with the tie and suits, and but these days a bit more relaxed. So still.
I was talking to Nosa from our team about that today. I was like, Nosa, I look so bad today. Like, oh my gosh. And I was laughing because I was like, back when I used to work in corporate and I was, putting on dress pants every day. And I was like, you know what? I'm grateful for these moments now because I'm really appreciative that we've, at least where we are now, is a little bit more laid back.
Yeah, it's nice. And I do like your Ravencoin hat too, by the way. They're very rare. You must be...
Right. See, I could have never worn that in another circumstance.
I love it. Paul, from your perspective?
Well, the important things. A Ravencoin hat is definitely one of them. I haven't got one of those, so I am really envious.
They're very rare. They're very rare, those hats.
Just going through things we're finding work at this point in time is, you just talked about it, target audiences, as Louis, as you said, personas. Once you start to understand them and you understand where they're looking, how they're looking, it's this know, like, and trust. As Megan said, it's going out on YouTube, getting in front of people. They start to know you. They understand you, how you talk, your likes. You talked about authenticity and so on. And also tell the stories of what and how you got there. Some of the biggest success stories I'm coming across are those which are talking about the barriers they've hit, how they got over them, what issues they've got, their thoughts over things, and so on. People remember stories. So if you can start to create these stories to sink into their mind and develop this know, like, and trust, that's really, really powerful. Just one last point that we're finding at the moment. Pre-COVID, there was this joke going around about attention span of people was something like 4.5 seconds. The attention span of fish was 8 seconds. Therefore, people have less attention span than a fish. And that I thought was brilliant. But Facebook themselves have actually come out to say that people now have attention span of less than a fish. And we're finding on YouTube, but definitely on, for example, TikTok, which has a massive audience, you will not believe the amount of sales we're driving from TikTok at the moment in some areas. We have to hit them in 3 seconds. If we have not hit them in 3 seconds, they basically swipe past. So their attention span is really, really short.
That's interesting.
That is absolutely true. It's 100% true. I've had a lot of experience on TikTok not recently, but 2 years ago, or not 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I was on there for about a year. Gained a pretty massive following, and yeah, Paul, you're dead on. It's pretty ridiculous, but that's just how it works. And it's,
I used to work at TikTok. I used to work at TikTok, and I told everybody, I'm like, I worked there in 2018, and I told everybody, I'm like, this is the next big thing. You guys aren't going to listen to me. Everybody called me crazy. It was when TikTok they had the whole data and the algorithm thing, super controversial. And I'm like, guys, I don't care. I know this is where the world's heading because of this lack of attention span. That's literally it.
100%. Well, I'll open up the floor for if people want to come in and ask questions.
I think that's probably why YouTube, we were talking about earlier, YouTube kind of goes to shorts now, or they're going to shorts, and they're actually monetizing views on shorts more now than they ever have. It's because they understand that if they can get people to start watching the shorts, they're most likely going to stay on the app longer rather than watching 5 to 10 minute videos over and over and over. And maybe they'll go on there for one, educational video every few days, but there's no shorts to keep them on the app long enough. That's why
you can even search in YouTube to find a part of a long format video that you want to watch only 2 minutes of, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Google does that too. Like, you'll search how to do X, Y, Z, and Google will take the YouTube video and they'll take the portion of the video and cut it down for you. It's so ridiculous.
Which I get, obviously it makes sense why they're doing that, but yeah, it speaks exactly to all of our point.
I'll open up the floor if anybody wants to come in, ask for a mic to be able to ask questions to our two guests. So I'll open up, so please just send me a request for the mic while we do that. Megan, and there'll be the same question to Paul. Blank canvas. You've got a blank canvas, you're starting your own project, new project, asset tokenization project, say a boat, a yacht, you are tokenizing a yacht. What's your marketing strategy? What's platform, and what's your one of the key elements of your marketing strategy to launch your yacht, tokenizing your yacht? Because I know you love your yachts, right?
Who doesn't, right? Paul, do you want to go first?
That's not a market I've actually ever gone into before. If I was to need a yacht, then I think my target, assuming it's a nice posh yacht, then my target audience would be somebody right at the high end of the spectrum, in which case finance isn't an issue. It's about showing what they can do, showing what they've achieved, and it's going to sound terrible, but basically having a showpiece which is part of their assets. And I would actually start to trying to find out where people are looking for that kind of thing, and get that across. And where are their friends looking? Not just straightforward word of mouth, but I would start to use. We talked about Facebook. If their friends are on Facebook, definitely on there. If their friends are on LinkedIn, if they're business orientated, on there. Megan talked about Twitter before. That's still for branding. That's an absolutely fantastic tool. We talked about TikTok, that has a massive wide audience. You could nail that kind of thing with TikTok. Possibly touch on Instagram Reels if you've got the time. But I think getting your TikTok short videos right is going to take up a huge amount of time anyway, so I'd probably stick there.
Fantastic. Megan?
Yes. All great points. Agree with all of them. And building upon that, I think if I were to have a project from ground, like just starting at zero, I would focus a heavy 6 to 12 months on building a community. Probably, I know people try and target a lot of platforms right off the bat. I think I would go right for one. Maybe Twitter and TikTok. I don't think I'd go more than two, to be honest with you. And then I'd focus on education, first of all. Education on a more broad scale, not even necessarily directly related to your project or trying to sell your project. I would honestly just try and build a community based around people with shared ideas in the space that relate back to what you're building, and then start to introduce your project to them that way.
So that'd be taking a few boat trips on the yacht, showing people what it's like to the experience.
Honestly, if I could make that happen, of course. But I think I would just start to. I've seen a lot of people do it effectively, or at least projects that are like in the very early stages. Maybe they haven't brought their product to market yet, but they're trying to do this. Where they just kind of build a community around. For example, they would be like, imagine a yacht club that is essentially a country club, but a yacht. Like, you make it seem so simple to people with concepts they already know. Like, they know what a club is, and they like yachts. So it's like, do you want to be in a yacht club? Of course. Okay, the differentiation point in ours is it's on-chain. Like, that's how I would approach it. Nice. And then that's when your education aspect comes in, and then they hopefully would realize and be open to the idea of what an on-chain type of a yacht club is. But yeah,
fantastic.
I don't like the whole like super high level approach where it's like, oh, we're a democratized Web3 based in the cloud club. It's like, no, okay.
So keeping it simple.
We're not going to have adoption that way.
So trying to keep
when people are very, very high level about it, but
yeah, I think in terms of sometimes people try to complicate things up. You're 100% right. You just try to keep things very simple because again, trying to bring people for mainstream, you got to keep it as simple as. It's just like there's still normal world, but obviously it's blockchain. But that's that's 100% agree, Megan. But yeah, look, it's we always try to keep it to the hour. And I really appreciate those insights, sharing your wisdoms, Paul and Megan. Really appreciate that. Jake, was there anything that you wanted to cover from your perspective in terms of the blank project?
In terms of the what project?
Just the blank canvas. We're launching a yacht project.
Today. I don't have too much thoughts to put out there, other than thanks Paul and Megan for coming on the show today. I know you guys are seasoned professionals, so it's always good to have those people come in and talk with us.
Absolutely. So Megan, when's the launch of the yacht again? Did you say?
Well, we'll see. Now you've got me thinking. Hopefully I can. If I launch it, you got to come visit from Australia.
I will. Well, I'm locked in next year. For the Miami at the Bitcoin conference. So I've already made some.
You're going to be here for 2023.
I've made some commitments to people. So Tron, Klaus from DigiShares, we've made a pact that we got to be there next year. So
okay.
So looking forward to that yacht. Looking forward to that yacht trip.
Yes. Now I can start arranging it.
No, on a serious note, thank you so much, Megan. Thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate your insights, and I hope you had fun in terms of. We're always trying to keep it lighthearted. Obviously, it's a serious topic in terms of when it comes to real estate, but we like to keep it a bit fun as well, as you guys know. And really appreciate your input. And any closing words from you, Paul, before we start the wrap?
No, it's been a really good session, so thanks for the invite. And obviously, we'll keep chatting our support, certainly our community, the Ravencoin community, and yourself, where I can. So, no, it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. And Megan, any closing words from you?
No, just thank you so much, and I hope to see you all on Twitter around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Megan. Well, we'll get in terms of a wrap up. There's some couple events coming up. So Ravencoin community, C3 Media, they host their at Braveland every Friday 9 p.m. US Eastern Standard Time. So if you check out Braveland, I think have you set up a profile at Braveland yet, Megan? I think you've received it anyways. I think you'll enjoy.
I'll check it out for sure.
And also the big event happening on the 29th of October, the Ravencoin Global Awards are on, hosted by C3 Media, Blockchain John. That's 29th of October, 3 p.m. US Eastern Standard Time at Braveland. So the nominations are out. Actually, they were published yesterday by C3 Media. Actually, I'll put some links in this post as well to make people aware. Congratulations for the nominees for those awards. And in my eyes, they're all winners. It's a shame that Twitter doesn't allow more than 4 nominees because again with C3 Media driving the nominations the last few weeks. Unfortunately, there's only allows so many people to be put on the votes, but again, there's a fantastic community in the Ravencoin community with some great projects, great people, and again, it's we're looking forward to the awards, and if you can join, that'd be fantastic, and looking forward to seeing you there, Megan, at the awards. it'd be fun for you to create an avatar.
I'll be there.
I'll send you a link. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live on this session. Again, I really appreciate Paul and Megan for their wisdom and experience in sharing their insights with us. I hope you all have a great day, evening, morning, day, depending what part of the world you're on. And same place, same time next week. Take care. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Take care, everyone.